greetings and more greetings. This is the Wedlocked and Loaded podcast. I am Daniel Laurent, and I'm accompanied by. You want me to introduce you?
I mean, you
Just
started it like
say
you
your
was.
name now.
Leah.
All right, so this is gonna be awkward. All right, so what's important to start is what why Wedlocked and Loaded? Like, what's the point of this? Why do it?
I definitely think it's been a long time in the making. I think one of the reasons that I was even interested in doing something like this is because when people are around us and they get to see us and our true authentic selves, I think they are entertained, but they are also receiving. They're also receiving.
Receiving what? Receiving goodness, love.
They're receiving love, but they're like insight. I would say I would use the word insight, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that sometimes, although I'm not typically a sharer, one who likes to share,
Tell me about it.
I think that it's important to share this side of myself and of life, because hopefully, good or bad, we are able to help someone else.
That's noble. Good for you.
I'm just saying, I wish I had it.
Well, I think experience is important, but also a person has to be willing to listen and receive it. And so I think that there were few examples for me to, I've asked you before, like, did you have models, that you look at and that you aspire to be or be better than, and I don't remember. I think you said no. But I certainly had, maybe two or three that I was like, wow, that's dope. And I think that, it's two people merge into one, and it's tough, And so, not to mention being like whether artist or personality or, anything like that. Even an entrepreneur, in a sense of like anything that you do, you're literally killing what you eat. So when you go outside and you go super hard and you're super focused on whatever you're focused on, and now you have to take that hat off when you come home and turn that light switch off, and be of service to someone else or be selfless. I think it's really, really difficult, and it takes a certain amount of patience and understanding from the other person to understand it, and I think in hindsight, you were more invested in the possibility of us than I was. And it wasn't that I wasn't, but I think that I just kind of figured it was what it was and it was going to be what it was going to be. And so in hindsight, it's just like, and so if this podcast and these discussions can be helpful to other people that are going through that process, whether, you've been together 1 year, 1 month, 10 years, 20 years, it's a constant work that you have to keep pouring into. And it shouldn't be exhausting. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it should be exhausting. Like a job. Like if you have more bad days than good days, I think, it's worth reevaluating and figuring out what you need to do. But, I thought it was important to intro, because I'm always big on like why do something. So everyone has a podcast, and you have podcasts for everything, and everybody's, you know, it, any niche you can think of, people are talking about. But I think experience is important and perspective is important, and this is a first for you, so I'm technically your first in something, which I appreciate
Oh,
because
here we go again.
because
Anyway,
yeah,
I think I want to touch on something that you said.
touch on it, babe.
Lord, I think, and that's not just for us, but I think just in general. I think that, well, I know that I was not necessarily more vested in us or believed in us more. I think what happened was, excuse me, I believe what happened was a certain level of comfortability set in, right? And you got used to just you got used to me just letting things be. And then when I stopped letting things be, that's when a light bulb of some sort went off in your head. And initially I think that you thought it was more of me being combative, or rebellious in a sense. And that, that just wasn't the case. I think that initially you believed in us and you were vested in us just as much as I was, if not more. Because early on, if you can remember, I would do things to kind of sabotage the relationship, right? In hopes that you would walk away. I remember when my heart broke. But you didn't. But anyway, in terms of having examples of successful relationships or relationships that inspired me. I can't say that I had. No, I didn't have any. What I had was the exact opposite, which made me say, I'm never getting married. I have no interest in being married. And that's not to say that there weren't good relationships around me, right? I just felt like the ones that I saw showed me a side of people that I definitely did not want to become.
I think yeah, I mean marriage is different for different people. I think that I wasn't pro marriage, but I wasn't anti marriage. But I think that I just, like a lot of people, it doesn't really matter whether you officially do it or not. It's just a piece of paper, and you'll often hear dudes like, "Oh, doing it for her." You know what I'm saying? Like it's the same. Nothing changes. We ain't getting no younger girl now. And I can 100% testify that like that's not true. It definitely changes.
Things change.
And so and marriage isn't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Just like college isn't for everybody, owning a home's not for everybody. Owning a car is not for everybody. Some people are okay with taking a bus, and that's completely okay.
Right.
So I think it was important to have the space. This is the very, very first episode, and so like anything that's your first, it's gonna be some hiccups and kinks, and it might be a little awkward, Oh yes, Daddy. But I think it's important to have the introduction of why first, before we. And are we gonna swear or are we gonna not swear?
I mean,
No, you swear a lot, so we'll swear. Because I'm not trying to do a whole lot of. You swear a lot.
I don't swear a lot.
You definitely swear a lot, so we'll swear. So I think it's important to have the introduction before we get into the shits. And nah, man, you might as well say it. So right?
No.
Yes, it's yes. So I think every show we should start off by doing a vow, right? Pun intended. Dun, dun, dun. So we'll do a vow where basically we are gonna swear to be as honest, as transparent as possible, and what's said on here stays on here, and it's just it's a conversation between you and I. There might be some people that listen, but it's a conversation between you and I, and so we're gonna take the vow to be our authentic selves, and don't put the mask and the lashes and the booty pop and all that stuff, and the tissue and the bras. You know what you girls do.
Don't know anything about all that. However, real quick plug.
Yeah, but first a quick word from our sponsor.
Lashes by Rote.co. Go get your strips or your individuals. That's who you need to see.
Are we doing plugs?
I mean, why not?
Is she a sponsor of the show?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, where's my cut?
You looking at it.
Period, sis.
Anyway, so let's get into one of the first things we'll get into is unique marriages, right? Is there one size fits all? Is there traditional marriage? Is there, like, what is your thought on that? so the different marriages that you know in your life right now,
Mm-hmm.
um, do you have opinions? Do you judge? Do you?
No, I absolutely, I mean, there is not a one size fit all anything, right? I mean, even when we think about like clothing, right? You see that OSF, right? And it don't fit all. It's funny because I think I saw something the other day where it was like one size fits most.
Hmm.
And that most, I think that is pretty typical of anything in life, right? Like you can have something that, you know, can be obtained or worn for everyone. However, as my grandmother would say, just because they make it in your size don't mean you should wear it, right? And I think in regards to marriage, you have to do what's right for you in terms of how it makes you feel, period.
What do you to people who? All right, so when I even ask a question like that, right, and then people, not all people, but some people go to, um, oh, they talking about open marriages, and you know, because that's definitely a narrative that um, people think, some people think about us, right? That like either we're in an open marriage
Or
or we're
swingers.
swingers, and I think I know you blame all of that on me.
I
I
blame.
typically you shift most of that perception from me, but I
Um,
think that that's definitely it might be
here's
seventy
what I'll say.
percent
Here's what I'll say to
70.
that.
Can we agree to 70/30?
No, you just hold the bag.
No, 70/30. I think is fair because when people are around you, you
Based off of you,
Leah. So are you making me? So are you appeasing?
based off of you, they assume. And at the end of the day, if we're splitting the 70-30, baby, you're holding the bag. So it doesn't even matter. The percentage doesn't even matter. You're
It,
holding the
it
bag.
matters in insurance terms.
You're holding the bag.
I take the majority.
You're just holding the bag. And that's that. Own it. And it's own it. Like if we're talking about if we're talking about being transparent, if we're talking about being traditional, like both things can exist, right? You can have some traditions and still be authentic to yourself.
How so? Not
Again,
disagreeing, just how so?
that one size fits all terminology does not apply to every single thing, right? And so you can be who you are and still have some of the traditional traditions.
So, so let's dig into it. So tradition, right? So what's your take on preparing dinner every night as a woman in a relationship and preparing dinner and the man comes home and the food's hot?
I mean, yeah, so we're not back in the 50s, the 40s, the 60s,
We could be.
right? I mean, if I was a stay-at-home wife and I was completely taken care of, things might be a little different, right? But I'm not. And so they're not. And so I think that roles are not necessarily a part of the tradition. Now, do women cook? Should they cook if they have families and if they have families? Absolutely. Should they be the only ones cooking? Absolutely not. I think that should be a shared responsibility or role.
But what about if one person does something better?
Sounds good. Get in that kitchen and learn. That's all good.
So are you telling me, right, that if this isn't even really the most equivalent, right? But
This is typical you. Go
let's
ahead.
say whenever you take the trash out,
Mm-hmm.
you take the bag out of the can and the bag busts open
Mm-hmm.
every time.
Yeah.
Let's say when you take the trash out and you don't put it in the actual trash bin and you
Uh-huh.
just leave it on the thing and squirrels and raccoons go ham, right?
Okay.
That means that you're probably let's take that away from you. Let's take that off your plate. No pun
So
intended,
yeah,
right?
no.
So that I should say, well, let me take that over. Let me take the burden off of you, and let me take the trash out, because clearly this isn't your wheelhouse, right?
And
So
so,
if you have me, and this isn't literally, but if I'm burning rice, and I'm making chicken and it's raw, and every time you bite into it, it's gummy, and it's like, why wouldn't you like it? It should be your pleasure.
yeah, so right now I'm going to stop you. In terms of them trash bags busting, my suggestion is invest in some bags that are a little bit more durable, right? This day and age, ain't nobody putting no bags on the side of the house as opposed to putting them in the trash barrel if they have them.
Bullshit.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm wise enough not to do that,
Okay.
right? So that ain't happening. In terms of burning rice and making gummy raw chicken, there is a vast amount of resources that'll help you learn how to cook rice the proper way. Follow the instructions. You'll be all right.
Let's move on.
Okay.
So when it comes, so let me just tap back into because I want to make it clear, right? Because I think it's important. Narratives are important. So definitely, I have a certain sense of humor, right? And um, I'm personally fascinated with certain things in life, aside from like um, things related to like sexual undertones or whatever. And so I think that because I'm a little more vocal, I'll speak on things, and assumptions are made, right? And I think that you and I are not necessarily considered in the prude family per se. And so when we're around each other, we'll have a good time, or we'll say stuff, or you'll respond to my comment, and say something to up me, or I might up you, and then people just make their assumptions. But I think that my advice, looking back at my younger self, um, be mindful of those type of perceptions, because I think I took pleasure and it was funny, but there's definitely some things that can be detrimental over time, and the energy that you put out, you definitely will get back. So, I wanted to kind of just say that part. Um, so this is the first one. We'll do, we'll do maybe like two topics and then see what we think. And so one of the things I wanted to bring up is social media, because that plays such a role in our lives. I think yours more than mine. I definitely disagree. You're on social media now. Um, so what do you feel about social media and relationships? So whether liking pictures, um, scantily clad women, getting DM messages, responding, it goes down in the DM, it go down, sending tweets, sending hearts, all that good stuff. Like, what do you think about that?
I don't think, again, right? People have to do what works for them. They have to know what they are willing to accept and what they are not willing to accept, right? Um, can social media be damaging to one's relationship? Absolutely. Can it be helpful to one's relationship? Absolutely. Right? So long as you put out there and you communicate with your partner and you have some sort of agreement, shouldn't be an issue. In terms of responding to DMs, well, depends on your response, right? Like if somebody's saying, "Oh, I think you're fine, and I want to take you out to dinner," or some people send, you know,
Say it.
pics,
Uh-huh.
or.
That's corny, by the way. I want to put that out there,
I
and
mean, whether
like,
they're print pics or wet tea pics, like whatever, it happens, right? Um, I think that sometimes a response is necessary, right? Whether it's I'm good. Don't do that again. Or sometimes if you're interested, I mean, if you're in a relationship and it's a one size fits all relationship, then, your response is whatever your response is, right? As for myself, I would say I've received a few DMs, whether they're saying, oh, well, you're beautiful, blah, 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 blah. Let's keep it simple. If it's something where it's like, oh, you're beautiful, thanks, carry on, right? Now, if it's a comeback because they feel like, oh, she responded, now we can actually have a conversation. And then they initiate that conversation, I will then reply and shut that conversation down. Now, you don't have to be nasty when you're shutting it down, but your message should be very clear. No teeter-tottering, just right to the point and very clear. And that can happen in real life. So it's not just about social media. A lot of times we send messages or mixed signals to individuals, not even knowing that we're doing that. Or feeling like, oh, we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But being blunt and right to the point does the job.
So being blunt and right to the point, I think, can look different for different people. And for men and women, it could look a little different. So, again, I think the unique part about this experience will be being truthful and putting it out there, right? So for me, I do not ever believe in being, I don't want to intentionally hurt someone's feelings. And so with that being said, if someone's like, oh, you're such and such, I might say, oh, thank you, love, thank you so much, right? And so to you, by me saying thank you, love, sends a different message, right? And I can't control what that person takes that response as. All I know is I said thank you.
But you added, there was an additive, right? So now you're using terms of endearment. That changes things. And you have to know that as an adult, male or female, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your gender. It just matters that that added term of endearment changes things. You should know. Absolutely.
But we're in social media where you have 5,000 friends. Literally on Facebook, you'll have 5,000 friends.
So what?
Are those 5,000 real friends? Or is it just a term?
People use social media for what they use social media for. For me, on my page, anybody that is my friend, I've had some sort of interaction with, right? And the term friends is a very loose used term, right? Now we've come up with associates, we've come up with family, friends and family, whatever. But again, just because you use a term, it doesn't mean that is specifically what that is, right? You decide on what kind of friend that is.
I think certain things, when you have a certain response, I think is clear. If somebody's like, what you doing late? I want to take you out. And you'd be like, no thank you. I appreciate the compliment though. No thank you. Right?
You're leaving it open when you do that.
But
right?
How?
Because you're just saying, no thank you, I appreciate it. Right? You're not saying, no thank you, I'm good, my wife wouldn't appreciate it. Or I'm married and I am not interested. You don't have to be an asshole to be blunt and shut things down. But you can definitely get your point across.
But I never liked, so even today, if I see a woman walking down the street and we literally are passing each other and I say hi to her, right? And she either says hi back or she doesn't speak. Or if she says, I'm married.
I already told ya, I got a man. What's your man got to do with me?
I
I
think
didn't
that
ask you if you're married. I'm literally just saying hi.
absolutely. But we're talking about saying hi versus let me take you out to dinner. Not comparable.
No, okay. So the asterisk to that is sometimes if you do just say hi, right, or if you say like, oh, that's a pretty picture you took. I'm married. What? I didn't
Okay,
ask you that.
so
I
again,
genuinely didn't ask you if you were married. Good for you though.
so again, you seem to be taking offense to somebody telling you that they're married, and therefore you are refusing to do that to somebody else. However, on the flip side of that, you have to respect that person by saying, oh, okay, you know, whatever your intentions were for liking a pic, commenting under a pic, or even saying hello in passing. I mean, the saying hello in passing, like that's just what's the word I'm looking for?
Manners, courtesy.
It's just a courtesy thing, right? And I think that, and I don't actually, it wouldn't be courtesy. There's a word I'm looking for, and it has definitely escaped me at this moment. But in passing, saying hello, it's just hello, right? Like I think that this generation coming up and past, like we have lost that, right? Like we walk down the street, we don't have to be friends to say hello to people. We don't have to be friends to say good morning to people, good afternoon. We're in passing, right? Like that has nothing to do with your relationship status. It's just the word I'm looking for specifically is not courtesy, but we can use courtesy.
Wait. I wonder if is it the old word? Like manners, it's in that family?
It's in the line of that, yes.
Yeah. I think I know.
We'll revisit this
Yeah.
this particular word, but it is in the line of just having manners and being decent, right? Or even kind, right?
You speak to everyone that says hi to you?
I absolutely do.
Good for you.
You say hello, I say hello right back.
Some of your
I say
fellow-
hello, they say hello. Or sometimes they say hello back to me and they don't.
Oh, so you initiate.
There's times when I will initiate. I mean, especially like if we made eye contact and like we're walking towards each other and like it's just awkward as heck not to speak. And sometimes I do it to be the asshole because it's like, hello.
But you'll speak to a guy and he won't speak back to you?
No, it's typically females that won't speak
Yeah,
back.
y'all wenches. No offense.
Well, I'm not gonna allow you to do that. You're not gonna call all females that.
Some are wenches.
Well,
Because
I mean, and that's just whatever it is. Maybe they didn't hear. I don't. I'm not necessarily
Bullshit.
gonna give everybody the benefit of the doubt.
what
but
we're not gonna do, as y'all say, what we're not gonna do is say that maybe you didn't hear, unless you have months and months and months of wax buildup. I think you heard me very clearly say hi
Hey,
or good
listen.
morning,
Hello.
and I do it every morning when I leave the house.
Let me see
It could be
something.
younger, it could be older. When people walking by the house, I'm like, "Oh, good morning," and they're so
Absolutely.
thrown off because I think definitely in Boston, Northeast,
This is my point.
y'all are
Like
just rude. Rude.
that. Just it's not a matter of being rude.
Shout
It's
out
just
to the
that.
Atlanta women too.
Okay.
Southern, charming.
So it's just the women that are southern and charming.
I mean the guys too, but I'm not talking to them.
Oh well, then shout out to the ATL dudes then for their
All right.
gentlemanness or ship or whatever
That's
it is.
not a word.
It can be today.
No. So what we're not gonna do is play those games.
Oh, so let's not.
I think getting a message. Okay, so liking a picture.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel about? I personally unfollowed a few people because I was like, I think I'm
You
getting a
can't
little.
control yourself.
Yeah, I think I'm getting a little too vested in this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, unfollow. Now, what do you feel about, pictures with girls and they're busting it open and if I like their pictures or like, what do you feel about that? And yourself? Because I feel like you've definitely got some interest in, the naked sex massage dude and all that.
Absolutely. Shout
Yeah.
out to that.
Okay.
Oh man, I can't. Ooh. Anyway.
Oh, yes, Daddy.
So pause.
What?
Disrespectful.
You think so?
Yes, disrespectful.
Oh. But it's okay for you to be
I
completely vested in pics. And I mean, like, you had to get to, like, I'm not saying, oh man, I gotta watch this massage every day.
But you literally just like moaned and exhaled
I did, because
in a
I'm thinking
microphone, mind
about,
you.
that's okay. I'm thinking about what that would feel like, right? And not necessarily from the people.
No, gray,
You can call it what you want.
gray.
You can call it what you
So when
want.
I see somebody busted open, I'm thinking about how.
You're again, there's not one size fit all in this, right? I think that unfortunately, speaking for you and I, men and women just, they think differently. Can't say all. Some are more in tune with their feminine side, and some are, are the opposite, right? And so for me,
I think y'all worse.
y'all
And we've
who?
had this, women,
Oh, okay.
and we've had this conversation. Men definitely like, but women are like savages.
So what I'm saying is that there are some men that are more in tune with their feminine side, and that doesn't take away from their masculinity. But there are also some women that are more in tune with their masculine side.
Sure.
And it doesn't necessarily take from their femininity.
Yeah,
right?
savages.
I mean, again,
And then man
what
eaters.
makes them different from the opposite, who do the same exact thing? Why do women have to be savages or man eaters
I think
when their counterparts are doing the same, if not worse,
I'm not a woman
and
eater.
more?
Wow.
Okay.
Go on, continue.
But anyway, go ahead.
Why? Because you are. When y'all be going on trips.
So here we go with this y'all
There's a
thing.
misconception of when guys go away and going to Brazil, going to DR, like doing
But
whatever,
look at all
right?
those locations you just named.
No, because that's what's out. That's like, and I'll tell you this, and I'm mad at whoever started this, right? Because it wasn't this way for 20 years, right? It was people coming back and experiencing certain things and blabbering and like putting it out there. So now it's a thing where across the world, people are, you ain't going to DR, you ain't going to Brazil. I know what happens over there, and
so
it's
I'm
like,
gonna
yo,
stop
that's
you,
not true.
because at the end of the day, anything can happen anywhere. Whether
I know, it can happen in St. Lucia, it can happen in Puerto Rico.
Anything can happen.
DR.
It can happen in Boston. It can happen in New York. It can happen anywhere. Okay, it can happen anywhere. So it's not a matter of a specific destination, right? Again, people do things for whatever reason they do things, and there's not a one size fits all for girls trips. Some people may take a girls trip with their girls and have all intentions of hooking up, and that's the reason why they take that trip. Others take trips because they love the beach, the hot weather.
I love the beach too. I love that beach.
And it's not because of who's walking on the beach. It's because it's just the pure serenity of the ocean.
The beach is the beach.
Okay? So, again, it depends on what lens you're looking out of.
The beach is the beach.
So what I'm not going to allow you to do.
And who's on the beach can make the experience or it could take away from.
And this is why women feel like they do when the guys go on girls trips.
Hey, man.
Because your attention might make your intentions something else.
All right, doctor. We all window shop.
Your attention make your intentions something else.
All right. Fair enough. We'll unpack this another time.
Oh yeah, that's already done.
What?
Huh?
What'd you say? What are you talking about?
I don't know. What happened?
We're gonna have to set some ground rules. Because the disrespect is flying and the innuendos.
There are none.
Yeah, I just don't like it.
There are none.
We're gonna have to write some ground rules
please.
And announce them before the show, because we need to make sure we have order on this podcast. and make sure that like things are
But
moved.
whose order? Like, what are we talking
God's
about?
order.
Oh, really?
Yeah, divine order.
Hmm.
We need to definitely like make sure it's structured in such a way where it's not so loosey goosey. This ain't gonna be Meg Thee Stallion, Cardi B, City Girls. You know what I mean? Like
Here we go.
those type of things ain't gonna be flying.
Here we
You need to
go.
make sure that like
What are we even talking about?
I don't know.
I
but
know
we need to
exactly.
basically make
That's
sure that
my
we're
point.
presenting in a professional, Black excellence way,
And we are.
and be ladies at all times.
Oh, I mean, are we being gentlemen at all times?
No, sure, for sure. All right. On that note, so we're gonna this yeah. So we'll wrap up, and we have some other things we're gonna unbox and unpack and talk about. But in the meantime, Wedlocked and Loaded Part 1 is in the can. We're gonna pop some champagne and pop some mollies to celebrate.
So we're not going to promote drug use. We're not going to do that because that's not what we do in real life. Okay? Okay.
Well, stop pressing stuff.
Why?
Stop touching things that don't belong to you.
Oh, it does though.
Why?
What's yours is mine.
On that note, Wedlocked and Loaded podcast. We will be back. So catch us every single Wednesday. We will have a new episode, and then we'll do kind of a follow-up debriefing the following day on IG. So make sure you follow us. Make sure you lock in. Feel free to ask questions. Please don't send pics. If you want to send...
Or putty cat pics.
Well, I think if those were sent, those could be inspiration for the next topic. So
we don't need those type of pictures to inspire our next topic. Nice try though. Nice try.
What about if it's
nice try?
What if it's cleavage? Picture?
Nice try.
What if like a piece
we don't
of
need
the
any we don't
shown?
need any body pics. Any body pics.
What if it's like a sexy
any
earlobe?
Body pics. We don't need it.
Or pretty
we don't
feet.
need any pictures.
Pretty feet?
Period.
I think pretty
Period.
feet is so like that's so vanilla.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.